In the late 90s, there was a coming of age comedy involving Kiss. It's a bit of a cult classic, so we're going to talk about it. But first, be sure to like and subscribe, and I have a Patreon where you can support the channel. Writer Carl V. Dupre grew up a Kiss fan in the late 70s and came up with the idea of four kids going on a quest with Kiss as the Holy Grail. He wrote a script based on this idea, and through a series of connections, it made its way back to Kiss. Kiss, who had just successfully reunited the original lineup and put the makeup back on, had been developing a movie with New Line Cinema that more or less would have been something akin to Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. But this script was generally preferred, and it was given the green light. Adam Rifkin was brought in to direct, and the movie was released on August 13, 1999. The story is about four teenage boys who travel from Cleveland to Detroit to see Kiss in concert. I don't mean to start in a negative place, but the basic premise of this is a good place to start. An important element of storytelling is stakes. This movie, or this script, is a basic three-act structure kind of thing. Heroes want something, embark on a quest, and find what they needed instead. The problem is that this is a big pile of who cares. If these kids don't see this concert, so what? Why does it matter? Kiss is going to play a lot of concerts after this. Why is this one so important? There's no drive to this story because there are no stakes. These kids don't get to see this concert? Well, that sucks, but maybe they'll catch the next one. These kids go to insane lengths to see this show, and why? There needs to be something else here. Maybe the four of them are going to different colleges, and so this is the last time that they can see Kiss together as a group. You could do some revisionist history and say that this is Peter Criss's last show or something. That would be something. But as is, it's kind of boring, and this quest is really dull. And I'm saying that as a massive Kiss fan. I can't imagine what a non-Kiss fan would think of this. As I said, the script is pretty basic. All the acts and beats within are very clearly laid out. Recently, Dupre did an interview with the podcast Cult Classics, where he mentioned that he studied structure quite a bit while writing this movie. Now, what I'm about to say, and really everything I say, should come with a giant grain of salt. Dupre is an actual screenwriter with produced work, including a Kiss movie. I am an idiotic aspiring filmmaker who makes YouTube videos praising and or criticizing someone else's work of art. In my bedroom. All that being said, I think analyzing structure is useful for what I'm doing. Reviews, film analysis, examining the whys and hows of a movie. I don't think it's particularly helpful in creating movies. I think if you worry too much about structure and hitting beats, you're going to end up with something that's a little formulaic. That doesn't make it terrible. The upside of doing that is that it is somewhat effective. The four characters have arcs. There is a journey. I can see why a studio liked this. And a basic structure can still make for a great movie. Disney films, certain action flicks, but those tend to have more emotional resonance, either due to maybe a stronger premise or a more powerful set of stakes or more engaging characters. This movie doesn't have that. So all I really see is the cookie cutter structure. Characters aren't great either in my opinion. Jam is the most sympathetic of the four. He just wants to enjoy his hobby, and he has this overbearing religious zealot of a mother. That's a good conflict, and his story of learning to stand up for himself is compelling. The other three are kind of whatever. Hawk is about confidence, getting over his stage fright. Lex is about getting over his hatred of dogs and girls that like disco. Trip is a little more interesting when he's faced with a reflection of himself in The Robber. But all three are kind of dicks. I don't feel anything for them or care what happens to them. There's a wish fulfillment thing happening, of course, mostly through their coming of age, and how for each character, their growth is rewarded with sex with the gorgeous woman, or at least making out with the gorgeous woman. You found yourself confidence? You get to fuck Shannon Tweed as a prize. It's a movie for 12-year-old boys. It is what it is. Now, this is a comedy, so maybe none of that matters as long as it's funny. it is not. Obviously, humor is subjective, and this did make me laugh as a kid, but it is very 90s in that being offensive is both the setup and the punchline. Just saying a homophobic slur is a joke. Yes, I understand that that language was acceptable both at the time and in the time that the movie takes place. This isn't about getting mad or canceling anybody. It's how kids talked back then. I get it. But this dialogue has aged like milk. I was taken aback by how often that word was used. It just isn't funny and it makes the whole thing feel unpleasant. Rewatching this for this review, nothing made me laugh. I will say the soundtrack is great. Obviously, the Kiss songs are great and well used, but I was very young when I saw this for the first time, and it introduced me to a lot of really great classic rock bands like The Runaways and Sweet. Very cool. Made on a budget of $17 million, the film only grossed roughly $5.8 million worldwide. So a pretty big bomb, and honestly, not surprising at all. This is a niche subject, a movie about Kiss fans. Who would that appeal to besides Kiss fans? And it isn't good enough to reach beyond that audience. The movie works in that everything that is supposed to be there is there, but that ends up making it feel kind of generic, and the stakes aren't high enough, and the characters don't have enough substance to make that okay. It's not the worst movie ever made or anything, and I definitely enjoyed it growing up. But now, this does nothing for me. It never made me laugh. I give exactly zero fucks about these characters and their story. I think this whole thing is really uninteresting and boring. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you for watching.